You're watching Women of Strength TV with a purpose-driven woman who has a yearning deep in her soul to serve the world. Presented to you by Ange Wilcock, creator of Evolutionary Model of Well-Being, Mindfulness-Based Storytelling, and the Raw Woman Project, a businesswoman on a mission for every human on the earth to feel enough.
Welcome once again to an amazing episode of Women of Strength. And today I have a fabulous guest called Phyllis Reagin. Welcome, Phyllis.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to this interview. Now, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Phyllis. So Phyllis is a managing partner, a high-performance strategist and certified executive coach with CSRH Consulting, LLC. She transforms executives and entrepreneurs for unprecedented levels of success. Phyllis's clients include Warner Brothers, Sony Pictures, CBS, the American Lung Association, Simon and Schuster, I don't know if I got that right, and Showtime networks, along with many private clients who are senior executives at fast-paced and demanding organizations. Wow, that sounds like an amazing career. And I know that there will be a journey that you've taken to get to where you are today. And so my first question, and it is my only question throughout our interview really, is can you tell us about where your journey of strength began in terms of being that woman of strength?
Absolutely. So for me, the hour was my darkest hour that my strength really showed up. My husband at the time was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I was 5 months pregnant with our first child and only child. And he did not survive the cancer. He died 1 month before our child was born. So it was like life had introduced something I never had considered, that I would have to, of course, deal with such a devastating loss at the same time of trying to take care of an infant who was, of course, bringing me so much joy. It was this juxtaposition in life, but there were so many avenues and points of where I had to make decisions that required me to really access strength I didn't know I even had.
Yeah, wow, that would be, gosh, I can't even imagine, you know, just to lose your husband, but then also to be carrying a new life as well, and having to, you know, raise a baby on your own. That would be really, really tough. Wow. Yes. And so what were your key learnings during that time? Because I'd imagine they'd be huge.
You know, my key learning was to listen to myself. I really had to quiet my external environment. And for me, that meant I left our home where we were living at the time in Los Angeles and moved actually to Arizona to be closer to my parents. I just wanted to quiet everything down, slow my life down, listen to myself, and to hear really what I needed as a part of the healing, and to connect just into my son without all the distractions.
Wow, that takes courage to do that, because, you know, when you're going, I'm a qualified therapist, and I know that when we're going through the grieving process, you know, it's not linear. It's, you know, it's all over the place. And so how did you, you know, tap into that listening to myself when, you know, I would imagine it felt like some stage through that grieving process that your life was falling apart. And so how did you get to trust that inner voice, that listening to you?
And it was interesting because I felt like I was trusting more of myself than ever before. Right. I wasn't sure I was going to come up with the right answers, but I knew I had to. There was nothing else, no one else I could really lean on at that point. It was either going to be me or just listening to lots of voices and getting confused. And I just decided I was going to trust myself enough, and that I and God would show me the way where I needed to actually be for the healing, and what were the right people that should be around me, and the right choices for me to make for my healing.
Yeah, great. And so when you were listening to yourself and you were coming up with answers, what was one of the first steps that you took?
The first step I took was actually, I just kind of went with life. It was just so much, and I felt like I just made decisions. It was like moment to moment what I could do. So the first thing I did was get the right support around me. So I hired someone to help me with my child. So if I needed a moment to walk off and meditate and take care of myself, I made sure I had those moments. But I could feel life was still a little off kilter because I had an accident where I fell and I hurt my thumb and had to have surgery. It was all these kind of odd things saying, slow down even more, take care of yourself. You will find your way back, but you have to trust it's a long process, and you just have to flow with it.
Yeah. And you mentioned one of the techniques that you use is meditation. What else did you use, or do you still use, during times when, life can be sort of quite traumatic? It throws curveballs at you, and we all know that we know the benefits of meditation. I mean, it's well documented. What other techniques do you use?
And I am a big believer in this. I do this every day. So I can tell, and I of course miss days when I'm sick, and I can tell when I don't. My day is so off. But I start off, I always read my Bible. I pray, I meditate, and then I do mindful journaling. So I like to write. I actually like to do visioning journaling, where I write what I want the future to look like in the now. So I do that quite often in the morning. And I like to do tapping as well. Yeah. So I'll do that.
Yeah, it's great because journaling is so powerful. And prayer and visioning, when we visualize what we want our future to look like and we affirm it, it is incredibly powerful. And I know that, some people out there go, oh, that's all woo-woo stuff. But, probably like you, I do that too. And it's proven to be, that's the life that I've created. I've already visualized it in my mind. I practice gratitude every day. I journal, because the brain doesn't know any difference between reality and what's in the mind. It doesn't know any difference. It's the same. So that's amazing. And it's amazing that you could find that space to do all of that while you were still grieving the loss of your husband and raising such a tiny, dependent, little baby.
Yes, absolutely. And I was thankful I had my parents around me, so that was support. And slowly, it was like I had to allow myself to reach out to people. So I was in a new community, and it was hard to decide that I was going to open myself up to meeting friends. But once I did, they of course arrived, and they were wonderful, and they're still the friends in my life that offer support. But they were there around me, and it just gave me even added strength and just feeling like things were now beginning to normalize, that I was finding myself. It was different than what I anticipated, but I was finding joy again.
Yeah. Wow. And it sounds like you've got, a really strong faith, a strong belief in yourself, in life. And, that life really is a learning journey, isn't it? We can sit back and go, why has this happened to me? And I'm sure you do, you've done that too. And I know that I have, but it's only momentarily, because what we look at is, okay, there's a reason in this, there's a learning, and what's the learning? So with the business that you're running today, or what you're doing today, what was the journey? So you've got, the loss of your husband, you've got this beautiful little baby that you're raising, you've moved to a new community, wow, just speaking about it out loud, it's like, whoa.
I know.
And then today, you've got this amazing career. So what's the story in between that?
So in between that, so before I had my son and before my husband died, I was a therapist like you.
Yeah.
But I had a business background too. And so both always pulled at me. I felt, I loved the therapy. I loved helping people. I was really great at business. And I, for the longest time, thought, why these two strengths? They don't seem to work together at all. So then after everything happened, I did group coaching for people going through grief. And I realized I just love helping. I'm going to figure out what this all means. Fast forward, I remarried, and my now husband said, you know, there's something else for you out there. I can feel it. It still ties into business. And of course, everything, when you call it into your life, it starts to show up.
Yeah.
So a former business associate showed up, and we decided that executive coaching made sense for both of our psychology strengths and our business strengths. And we married the two together.
Wow.
So once I got married, I moved, and we're back in California now. And we launched my business partner and I launched our business. And it was just like on faith, basically. We didn't have a really great business plan or any sound ideas, really. We just knew what we were good at doing. And so we were going to give that a try.
Great. So you pulled on your strengths, you know, you knew what your strengths
Yes.
were, and that was what you're going to use to create, you know, an amazing business. So
Absolutely.
So any business women out there that are listening, or any women thinking, you know, I really want to go into business, what advice would you give them?
Well, it's really not like a straight path for a lot of people.
No.
And, you know, life introduces children or other avenues that you want to take, travel, and you may think that you can't come back to it, but you can. And those wonderful experiences actually inform you later as to what you might really want to do. I think the first step is just getting immense clarity about what are your strengths, you know, and how do you want to live your life? What's the purpose of your life? Just being very sure about that, and then deciding what will be right for you at that moment. And it's not that it can't change. You know, in 5 years, you can decide, I want it to look like something different.
Yeah.
And that's something you can do. But it's just really, again, about trusting yourself and that you have enough. When you show up, it will be figured out, and you have enough to guide it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're saying, you know, things do change, because I think as purpose-driven individuals, we are continually evolving. And so when we're in business, it does change. And not everyone understands that, because, you know, if you follow the, I don't know, traditional, conventional business model, it's like, well, it goes like this and da-da-da-da-da. And it is quite linear, and there's these tasks, and you stay doing these particular things. But however, you know, when you are an evolving person, you grasp opportunities, don't you? You see them, they become available to you, and you go, oh, that might be a path that I want to take too. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Yeah. So my next question, unless there's a question you want to ask me, but my next question is really around, how do you combine and get that work-life balance? Because we know when we're working for ourselves, sometimes that can really get out of balance. So how do you manage that?
I have not figured that out yet.
No, that's good, because I haven't either.
It's like day to day. Like, my son is 12 years old now, and he also is being homeschooled. So he does virtual school. So it's balancing him being home. Yeah. I also work from the space. My husband has an office at home. So it's all about busy household, and it can bleed into everything if you don't really watch it. So we have to have boundaries around technology and finding space for ourselves. Exercise is really important for me to just go, nothing too outrageous, but I have to have at least an hour for myself to just connect back to my body and do something that's healthy for me, and making sure, again, in the morning I'm doing my meditation. And that's my only balance that I've figured out so far. But sometimes the day just, you know, is the day. It just goes in whatever direction it wants to.
Yeah. Yeah. And because, again, I think, you know, we have amazing plans for ourselves, but we know that the day just unfolds, doesn't it?
That's right.
That we've got to.
Exactly.
I think most women entrepreneurs that I've spoken to, it's like, you know, we've got this plan, but very rarely do we stick to it. But we do make sure that during the day that there is that self-care, you know, that takes place. So what I'm intrigued about, so you homeschool your son, and he's 12.
He's 12.
Is he, do you think he's a little budding entrepreneur, seen as mum and dad are? Or?
Well, he certainly seems that way, because he just gravitates towards the business world. And he gets up, and so he ends his day with watching BBC. And then he likes to watch the BBC News, not the news, but rather the business report. Yeah. And then he does the news again. And so he just has this global view, and he's just very smart and able to ask good questions about business. So we don't know.
Sounds like he's already on his path.
I'm the daughter of an entrepreneur, so I do know it does roll down.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? That when you've grown up, my family have very much always worked for themselves, and when you've grown up in that environment, working for someone else always feels restrictive, even though I've done that, and I'm sure you have, may have too. But when you work for yourself, it is that freedom. It is being able to evolve, and your business evolves with you. So
absolutely,
great.
I liked working for other people, but it always felt temporary. Like I knew something else was going to be there for me. That was not it, but I knew that I was going to learn while I was there.
Yeah. So what's the part that you love about being a woman in business?
I love being able to create. I mean, I just love creating myself. It gives you the power to decide. People talk about branding and all of that, but it's really about what's your message? What do you want the world to know about you? How do you want your impact to be? I love thinking about those questions and trying to find them in how I actually coach, and how I even do my writing and content on my blog, or what if I'm doing a speaking engagement. That to me is about answering that question and always thinking about it. And I love that I get that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, fantastic, isn't it? It's great, because it doesn't feel like working. I mean, I do. It doesn't feel like a job, or it's a calling. It really is a calling, and not everybody sort of understands that.
Right.
So with the fabulous women that will be listening and watching this, what's one gem of wisdom that you'd like to leave with them?
I just always think that you should take chances in life. Just be a risk taker. I mean, because maybe 10% of that time may not work out, but that 90% is going to be so fantastic and something you could never have imagined for yourself in your life. But it's really about just stepping out on faith, just that one step. It's hard for so many people to do that. Yeah. But it's just trusting yourself enough to know that the universe supports you, that you can do those things. You have the ability and the strength within you to do it. And maybe it's not all at one time. Maybe it's baby steps. But do those baby steps and you'll begin to see, it does show up for me. I do make good decisions. And this is really a much more interesting life than I could have ever imagined for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So where can people find you?
Sure.
So you mentioned your blog, and so where can you find you?
I would love for them to come over to my blog, and it's www.phyllisreagin, REAGIN.com. And they can come on over and read some of my articles.
Fantastic. And I'll put the information below this, so people can follow you. So thank you so much, Phyllis. I mean, what a phenomenal life and experience you've had. And I have such admiration for you, what you went through 12 years ago, and you just connected to your faith and belief in yourself, and that's quite inspirational. So thank you for sharing.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Remain real, authentic, and whole. Be yourself and continue to follow your dreams. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time on Woman of Strength TV.